Well, greetings, imagination connoisseurs. Once again, it is I, your Duke of Dope Discourse, your master of fun and wonder, or as somebody called me last week, your verisimilitude. Robert Meyer Burnett, of course, John Campea calls me your existential Mr. Rogers, and this is a John Campea Show mailbag for Monday, July 11th, 2022. As you know, during the John Campea Show live, we turn on the Super Chats for a short period of time, and you can get your questions in, and we will read them on that show today. But if you have a thought, a question, a comment, you might wake up from a dream about all of us thinking, I want to talk to the people on the John Campea Show. You can send us a tip 24/7, 7 days a week, all the time around the world. The link is right down below, and I will read them. John will read them. Maybe we'll read them together. One day, Ray Ora is going to read them to you. But for today, it's me. Let's see what you have to say. Hitchcock is the GOAT. One of two. The bad news: I need to voluntarily abandon your show for the next 2 to 3 weeks. The good news: it's because I'm downloading your accumulated shows and mailbags in podcast form because I'm going on a 17-hour trip from Ohio to Kansas to visit my mom. This show will be perfect company on the road, even though much of the topics won't be new anymore by the time I listen to them. It's the entertaining and insightful way you and your team present it that keeps us coming back for more. Thanks, and bring on the filthy. Well, Hitchcock is the GOAT. That's a long drive. You know, I used to like to drink. I still like to drink. I used to Freudian slip. I used to drive a lot from Seattle to LA. My record's 18 and a half hours, and don't drink when you drive. But I like listening to things on long trips, like whether it's a book on tape or something, and there's a little continuity there, so that's very cool. I think it's very cool you're going to visit Mom. Please give your mom a shout-out to all of us here from the John Campea Show. We appreciate your ongoing support, but it's more important that you support your mom. Pretty cool. And Hitchcock is still the GOAT. And you know what? Whenever I read your name, I'm curious, what is your favorite Hitchcock movie? I think mine is actually Rear Window, but I love North by Northwest. I love To Catch a Thief. I love Psycho. I really love, well, I did say I already said that, but I love Hitchcock. But Rear Window is my favorite. Lucas Halverson sends in a tip and says, Reed Richards has been completely absent from all post-Doctor Strange 2 promotional material. I just watched Assembled, making of Doctor Strange 2, and not even a mention of him. It was as if him and Black Bolt were not even part of the Illuminati. Why? Well, Lucas, I am not really a conspiracy theorist. I always believe in following the money because I want to believe in conspiracies, but really it just comes down to a bunch of douchebags that want to get rich, same as it ever was. In this case, maybe, we still don't know. You know, John's been talking about Terrigen Mists as far as it goes and Miss Marvel. Are they going to bring back the Inhumans? I don't know. And as far as Reed Richards goes, we know they're going to make a Fantastic Four movie. Maybe they want to downplay that because an announcement is imminent. I don't know. But that's a very interesting. I hadn't noticed that, but that's a very interesting little tidbit there. That's very tantalizing. Very a good catch. So remember, the rumors are always true. That's what they say here in Hollywood, at any rate. Elijah, should I save a chair for you? Hey, John and crew, just curious what your thoughts are on Spider-Man No Way Home getting re-released in theaters in September, and if you plan on seeing it and what you expect to see. Elijah, it's a good question. Obviously, so for those of you who don't know, they're releasing, I forget what it's called, the super duper deluxe version of Spider-Man No Way Home. There's extra added scenes. I would imagine we're going to see more scenes between Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man, Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man, and Tom Holland's Spider-Man. One of my favorite scenes was when they were all working in the lab together, and I'm sure they shot more of that, so we're going to get more of that. Now that they already know the movie's a financial hit, I think it's kind of cool we're getting a new version, and I hope there's substance there. I don't want there's 2 minutes of new footage. I'd like to see more of the interpersonal relationships between the different Spider-Men because I thought that was pretty interesting. And how would they interact? I would watch a whole nother movie of just like the three of them hanging out, trying to figure out how to deal with one another and the world around them and what it all means to be Spider-Man. Like kind of like the movie My Dinner with Andre. I've always said since I've been on this show, since John Campea and I have been streaming all the way back to when I was first on Heroes, I said that I would watch like an Avengers dinner party movie. We got a glimpse of it in Age of Ultron, but I would totally just watch a movie where the Avengers hang out for 2 hours. It would work. And if they're going to give me more of the Peter Parkers in the movie and maybe more villain stuff, I'll watch that. So that's what I'm hoping for. I think it's pretty cool. I'll definitely buy a new Blu-ray of it, a double dip, worth it for me. So yeah, count me in. Suthius says, detailing my comment regarding Kamala being spun into that unknown purple realm when she first activated the bangle, if you look closely, it's actually the people and trains of the partition. Initially, I thought it was a glimpse of the Noor dimension. Yeah, I mean, it is. That's very interesting. I mean, yeah, it is. I'm wondering if there even is a Noor dimension. I don't even know if that's even real, because maybe they think there is one of those things. I don't know. I don't know what to believe. So, hopefully this 6th episode of Miss Marvel will bring us answers. But you're right, Suthius. It wasn't that dimension. I don't know if we're ever going to see that dimension. But I'll be curious to see what happens in episode 6 of Miss Marvel, and I will be tuning in, and you can tune into the after show of John and I discussing that final episode. Suthius says, a movie about a beloved spacefaring character, but is now portrayed by a new actor. The movie could have been more financially successful if it was just marketed as a fun space adventure without nostalgic ties. Did I just describe Solo or Lightyear? Well, I think the difference is I would say Solo, because Lightyear is a story. I mean, Buzz Lightyear is always, it's a toy. It's a licensed toy. And I think Buzz Lightyear, as presented in Toy Story, he's a character unto himself. But his world that he lives in is in a toy box or in Andy's room. So his experience of the universe is very limited, whereas the Buzz Lightyear in the movie Lightyear is like a real guy. And if you want to think about it, I mean, it's weird because they're both CG characters, and you're thinking about one as being real, and the other as being an animated toy character. It's kind of funny. Like in Lightyear, if he had his own toy, if there was a Buzz Lightyear toy, would the Chris Evans Buzz know that he's animated? It's an existential question I wonder about all the time now. I don't know what that says about me. Kyle says, I wonder what will happen with Butcher and Ryan next season. I have a feeling Ryan is not going to be nice to Butcher, and maybe some tough choices will be made. Kyle, good question. I got to tell you, I'm a big fan of Arthurian tales. And the character of Mordred, who is, of course, Morgana and Arthur's bastard son, and she sort of ensorcels him, and she's impregnated by him, is a great character. And I see Ryan as being that Mordred character. I think he's going to go full-on evil. Maybe he'll be redeemed, but maybe not. It's the boys, so I would say probably not. But I think Ryan's going to go full-on. He's going to make a full-on heel turn. Even though he's got a cute face, he's going to be a full-on heel. And he's going to turn very, very bad. At least that's the way I see it. Jonathan Namila is here. Hello, Jonathan. Rob, I was given Everything Everywhere All at Once, second viewing. I still don't love it, but I do love the concept of multiple lives and fulfilling that life with multiple versions of yourself. I do. Well, yeah, I mean, I think it's really fascinating. If nothing else, one of the great things, I mean, I really love the movie, but one of the great things about Everything Everywhere All at Once is it makes you ponder your own life. What would multiple versions of you be? Who would you be in different universes? How could things have gone differently? I mean, I think it's a really thought-provoking film. And then Jonathan goes on to say, part 2, Everything Everywhere All at Once, second viewing, the cinematography, it was beautiful. I want to be more emotionally invested in the characters. The fight was good. The heart of the movie was acceptance of the daughter by the mother. Still not for me. Well, it's kind of a, Jonathan, don't feel bad that it's not for you. Like John is always saying, your feelings about movies, whether you like them or not, are yours. Your opinions are completely subjective. So just because somebody else likes something, you shouldn't feel under any obligation to, because your experience of the world is very different than another person's. So never feel bad about not liking something as much as somebody else does, or that if something doesn't work for you, it doesn't work for you, and that is okay. I give you permission to dislike things. And I know you were waiting your entire life for me to say that. But no, I mean, in all seriousness, you don't have to love everything. Even if if you want to go against the grain, be your own person. Like what you like. Love what you love. And don't let anybody tell you what you should and shouldn't like. Unless it's about modern Star Trek and you're listening to me. In which case, I am correct and you should listen. But anyway. Oh, and you know what? It's time for a word from our sponsor. And if you guys don't like to eat vegetables, I'm not a big vegetable guy, you should check out our sponsor, Athletic Greens.
Hey guys, we want to take a second to thank the sponsor of this video, Athletic Greens. Now, when you get really busy, and you guys know that Ann and I are really busy, one of the first things that you sacrifice is eating healthy. And I simply have never eaten enough vegetables in my diet, I admit it. So for a long time, I've been looking for a really good all-in-one supplement that helps me get those nutrients and vitamins that my body needs. And thank goodness I found Athletic Greens AG1. So what is Athletic Greens AG1? Well, with one delicious scoop of AG1, you're absorbing 75 high-quality vitamins, minerals, whole food source superfoods, and probiotics to help you start your day right. And for me and Ann, it's easy. We get up in the morning, we pour a big glass of water and add 1 scoop of AG1. So many people today are taking some kind of multivitamin, and it's important to choose one with high quality ingredients that your body will actually absorb. And it's cheaper than getting all those different supplements yourself. And on top of giving you all those vitamins and nutrients, it also supports better sleep and quality of recovery, and supports mental clarity and alertness. Right now, it's time to reclaim your health and arm your immune system with convenient daily nutrition. It's just 1 scoop in a cup of water every day. That's it. No need for a million different pills and supplements to look out for your health. And to make it easy, Athletic Greens is going to give you a free 1-year supply of immune-supporting vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. All you have to do is visit athleticgreens.com/mailbag. Again, that's athleticgreens.com/mailbag to take ownership over your health and pick up the ultimate daily nutritional insurance.
And again, a very special thanks to Athletic Greens. And be sure to use our code MAILBAG when you sign up. Noah says, hi all, The Boys is great, and I love the show. However, if we're talking about great TV, it does not get better than Better Call Saul for 2022. With the final 6 episodes starting on the 11th, what are your thoughts on the show, and do you have any predictions? No, I have to tell you, I watched the first season of Better Call Saul, and then I stopped, because basically that's what I did with Breaking Bad. I don't know why and then I bought the Blu-ray set of Breaking Bad, the entire series, and I binged it, and it's one of my favorite shows of all time. I've been waiting for years now to do that with Better Call Saul. I hope they release the same kind of, they really, for Breaking Bad, they released a 50-gallon oil drum, smaller, of course, that had the whole series in it and the documentary. I hope they do something similar for Better Call Saul. I can't wait to sit down and binge the episodes. I do not know what's going to happen. I have no idea where the show is. I don't even know. Somebody said that there was a major death recently. I don't know who that is. I'm keeping mum's the word. Don't tell me what happened. So I can't, unfortunately, make any predictions for you, but I can tell you this. Usually within 3 or 4 months, they'll put out that box set, and that means sometime in the fall, maybe. I will be able, fall, maybe winter, hopefully before Christmas, I will own the entire series on Blu-ray, and I am excited. So thank you very much. Jonathan DeMella comes back and says, hello, John and Rob. Per Jurassic Park Dominion review. Jurassic Park is number 1, but Dominion has a special place in my heart because it takes Jurassic Park to heights it could only imagine and completed a beautiful end to all the stories in both Jurassic Park trilogies. Jonathan, if you feel that way, I think it's good. I was kind of hoping for something a little bit more than we got in Dominion. But I can understand a lot of people really like it. I wanted to see something that was a little bit more, it had more consequence, but I liked it. And, overall, dude, there's never going to be better movies ever made about dinosaurs eating people than the Jurassic Park movies. I just wish more people died. But for the most part, I love the movies. I love seeing, it's for the kid in all of us, seeing those photorealistic dinosaurs. I can just watch them wandering around the world. The earth. They can walk the earth. That would be enough for me. I'd still watch 2 hours of that because it's awesome. Jonathan goes on and says, Jonathan Namila says, hello, Rob. Rob, have you heard of the Disney Movie Club? It's amazing. I highly recommend it to all physical media collectors. You can get hard to find Disney movies with a membership and you can own it forever. Rob, I'm collecting physical media forever. Jonathan, I don't belong to the Disney Movie Club, but I have got people to get me certain Disney movie titles, such as 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea and The Black Hole. So I'm very familiar with Disney Movie Club. I love Disney Movie Club. I should probably sign up. But yes, physical media forever. At least, look, I think physical media, to be honest, it has about 8 years left to it. I think the Xbox and PlayStation 5 with their disk drives have extended the life of physical media, because the problem is going to be finding players. Who's going to make players for your physical media collection? It's cool because I'm almost dead, so I won't have to worry about my physical media collection for a long time. But hopefully, from the outside, maybe 20 years, 25 more years, and then I shuffle off this mortal coil and someone else can deal with my physical media. But until then, as long as I can get players, it's great. And I'll tell you, more and more stuff. They just announced an incredible 4K disc of the 80s Fright Night, which is a favorite of mine, chock-a-block full of new special features. They just announced the original War of the Worlds and When Worlds Collide, the George Powell films from the 50s, favorites of mine, in 4K. There is just a potpourri of goodness of 4K discs and movies coming our way. So it is a great time to be a physical media collector. And Criterion's going to do Night of the Living Dead in 4K, which is dope. Alex F. says, one of two. The Hemsworth-Waititi pairing is comedy gold. Taika's ideas with Chris's delivery gets me every time. We still don't know where the MCU is heading collectively. My question is, do we need to? We're 6 movies into the next big story, but if we look back at the Infinity Saga, we didn't know the direction of that until the Avengers post-credit scene, which was the 6th movie of Phase 1, incidentally. Are hardcore fans expecting too much, or have Marvel dropped the ball this time? What are your thoughts? Thanks, and bring on the filthy. Well, Alex, these are great questions. Well, here's the thing. Regardless, a lot of people have compared Phase 1 and Phase 4 to me, but I would say this. Marvel has set up their own expectation. We're 14 years into the MCU. Thor: Love and Thunder is the 29th feature film in this. Wakanda Forever will be the 30th film. So I think we've come over the last 14 years to expect certain things. And after the direction with Thanos was revealed at the end of Avengers, I think the expectation is, it's not like the Marvel Cinematic Universe was rebooted. It's been moving on post blip and post the whole Thanos experience, post Infinity Saga. So I think everyone is looking for, well, okay, what's the next saga? Is it Kang? Is it Secret Wars? What is it? Is Galactus coming? Are the Celestials coming to judge Earth? Are the Celestials going to judge Earth and they cause the Secret Wars? They pluck everybody? We don't know. And I think people just are curious because people wonder, what are we looking for? What's happening? And while I would say that there are certain themes such as family and loyalty and the changes of generations, there's definitely underlying themes of Phase 4. But I think people want to know, and I want to know. For me, I've talked about this before, but the cosmology of the Marvel universe with there's Egyptian gods and Norse gods and Celestials and what is happening in terms of humanity's place in the MCU. And I would love to see it defined, because you literally had in Moon Knight people their souls are being sucked out of their bodies and consumed by Ammit. And you're like, well, what? There was a mass casualty event in Egypt. Well, did they know that there were Egyptian gods fighting over the pyramids, eating the souls of people that lived in Cairo? That would seem like a pretty big news story. So it's hard to what is the fallout of any of that? And we haven't seen any of it. So I don't know where it's going. I mean, I understand your point that we didn't find out where the Marvel Cinematic Universe was going until after Avengers 1, but they already played that card, and that was 10 years ago. I think we're much savvier, and we want to know what the hell's going on. I know I do. Jonathan Namila comes back again and says, hello, John and Rob, with the news about Studio Canal not transferring. Oh, this is a really interesting story. With the news about Studio Canal not transferring digital movies, possibly not sure what they do. Hopefully the right thing. I'm more extremely worried for digital movie owners because they don't own their movies. So what Jonathan is referring to, in Germany and Austria, PlayStation has been forced to remove hundreds of movies from their store that are owned by Studio Canal, which is a French company. And some of the movies, the John Wick franchise, the Hunger Games franchise, those all fall under my beloved Basic Instinct. They all fall under Studio Canal, that Studio Canal owns that stuff. So if you had bought digital copies from the PlayStation store, you are shit out of luck. You are you might have spent, if you bought a lot of those movies, you could have spent hundreds of dollars on those films. You will no longer have access to those movies on the PlayStation Store. And this is a problem with owning digital files. You can have those files taken away from you. You have no guarantee of ownership. Now, for me, one of the reasons I like physical media is because the picture and sound are unmatched compared to streaming, especially sound, because they feel they can get away. Picture quality is harder to get away with than compressing the sound quality. But yeah, we're going to see this kind of thing happen more and more. And I feel bad for my brothers and sisters who buy their digital files, their movies digitally. I'm sitting on 3,000 discs at home of all my favorite movies. I don't have to worry. And I've been buying those Studio Canal 4K beautiful box sets with boxes full of swag and great stuff. So I don't have to worry. They're not going to take my movies away from me. They might take yours away from you, though. And it's kind of a bummer of a story. I don't know what's going to happen with that. I don't know if people get their money back. I would imagine no. So people are out of luck. Checkmate 9 Moves sends in a tip and says, hey, crew, my question is about movie credits. Are you a bigger fan of a cut to black or a slow fade out? That's interesting. Obviously, the type of cut to black depends on the scene, but I thought I'd get your 2 cents on this. How important is it? Thanks, I'm bringing the filthy. Well, as an editor myself and somebody who's actually designed credit sequences, I would say this. A credit sequence is defined by the movie itself. So depending on what kind of a credit sequence, like I think back to some of my favorite credit sequences of all time. Seven, the movie Seven with Brad Pitt and Morgan Freeman has an incredible title sequence. And it was designed by Kyle Cooper at Imaginary Forces. And that credit sequence, the way they pop in and out of the credits, it really depends. Dissolving in and out of a black screen, do you have credits coming in over footage? It's very, I think each movie, I love credit sequences. Now I know like Marvel puts all their credit sequences at the end of the movie, but I once read an interview with David Cronenberg where he said he thought it was important to put credit sequences in the beginning of the movie because it sets the tone. You can use the credits to set the tone for the rest of the film, and he does a good job of that. I believe in that. You get a piece of really new music, new score. Maybe your composer has written a brand new piece of music over the opening credits. I mean, end credits are cool too, but I prefer a really strong and beautifully designed opening credit sequence. I don't like it as much over black. I want to see something. Show me something in the opening credits. I don't know what you're going to show me, but give me some opening credits that can tell a story unto themselves. I mean, look at the credits again. Another David Fincher movie, The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo. You know, you have Karen O singing the Immigrant Song, Zeppelin's Immigrant Song, over an incredibly designed opening sequence. Another favorite opening sequence of mine. Check that out. Those are the kind of things that I like. I hope that answers your question. Checkmate 9 Moves says, also, I thought I would share one of my favorite movie moments. I love hostage movies. Me too. Mainly because they all share one scene, the face-to-face confrontation between the robber and the negotiator. The scene blends two storylines and acts as a war of ideals. Yeah. I mean, there's even that movie, The Negotiator, that's really, really good. I mean, another hostage movie that I think is great that a lot of people don't remember is Spike Lee's Inside Man with Clive Owen. Love that movie. But yeah, I really like Dog Day Afternoon with Al Pacino and John Cazale. One of the great hostage movies. I'm a huge fan, and I love that. You're right. The final confrontation between the person who took the hostage or hostages and the good guys. I love that. It's an unsung genre. We don't get enough of those movies these days. I miss those movies. Good call on that one. Checkmate 9 Moves goes on to say, I just played Ghost of Tsushima, and the end offered two options. One epic, one heartbreaking. With a movie in the works, could the movie pull a Clue and release it with different endings? Why do you think this tactic hasn't caught on more? It seems unique. Checkmate 9 Moves, in theory, I think that's kind of a neat idea. But you know what? I think a movie is made less effective. Clue's different because it's a mystery. And you can have, Professor Plum can do it with the candelabra at the library. And you can have different combinations of the two. But if you're making a drama, if you're making a long-form story, your ending has to be as satisfying as the rest of the movie. And if you give people a choice, I think it's less effective. I think that I want to know what a filmmaker has to say. That's why I go to movies. I like the authorship of storytelling, and I want to know, what does that person have to say to me? And I think that's important. I want to know if I'm watching. I love Ghost of Tsushima. I've also got a great 6-scale action figure from Ghost of Tsushima. I want to know, what do the makers of that movie, what do they want me to take away from that? How do they want me to feel? And I think that's really important with a movie like that. It's a good question, though. Kayak sends in a tip and says, hey, guys, you often emphasize how The Rock was crucial to Fast Five's success. Maybe so, but what drew me to this movie was the fact that the cast from the previous films were all there. Today, it's standard for the franchise, but back then it was like the Avengers or the Fast and Furious. Kayak, I totally agree with you. However, the plot was great, and I think that was all. You're absolutely right about that. As I've said, Fast Five is the Citizen Kane of the Fast and Furious franchise. Yeah, you bring all the characters back. That was very much the appeal, but the storyline is great, from stealing the cars in the beginning to the actual heist on the streets of Rio. It is one fun, well-constructed movie, and I thought Dwayne Johnson's addition to that, as that operative going after law enforcement, he was great. And so Chris Hemsworth's wife, part of his team. I think all of that, what you're pointing out, absolutely correct. Those elements are vital to that film's success. But I do think the addition of Dwayne Johnson just upped the ante. So it wasn't just Dwayne Johnson, let me be clear. It was a very frothy, heady mix of goodness. That is what Fast Five was, and I love it. And you know what else I love? I'll tell you. I love getting a close shave. Obviously, clearly, I haven't had one lately, but I do like getting a close shave. And you know where I like to get my shaving utensils from, and including my blades? From our friends at Harry's.
One of the great joys in any man's life is his morning shaving ritual, and no one gives you better tools for that ritual than Harry's. The Harry's starter set is all you need to give you the best shave possible. That foaming shave gel on your cheeks, the feel of that razor in your hand, the newly designed handle and how it looks and feels even better than the original. Harry's is giving their best offer to viewers of the John Campea Show. First-time Harry's customers can redeem a starter set for just $3 at harrys.com/Campea. That includes a 5-blade cartridge, a weighted handle, foaming shave gel, and a travel cover to protect your blades on the go. A $13 value, all for just $3. Harry's gives you simple, quality craftsmanship at a fair price, and they'll never overcharge you for gimmicks you don't need. Harry's blades hold up better than ever. Guys who've tried it said their 8th shave is as sharp as their first, and their newly designed weighted handle looks almost as fresh as you'll feel after using it. Harry's has the highest customer satisfaction in the shaving industry, and they're still offering a no-risk trial. Don't like your shave? No worries, it's on them. New look, same incredible offer. There's really never been a better time to give Harry's a try. Just go to harrys.com/Campea today to get your starter set for just $3. That's harrys.com/Campea.
And a very special thanks to our sponsor, Harry's. They really do have a great deal. Don't forget to use our code. Spidey Oscar says, I like Thor 4 and I love Thor, Mighty Thor, and even Gore. And the look of the movie is so beautiful, but they overdid it with the jokes that I don't find it to be funny at all, and it feels a bit rushed. The story is so-so, except for a small moment. I give it a C-. Well, Spidey, you're not wrong. I found the movie too silly. And, one of the things, you have to think about the MCU as a whole. Guardians of the Galaxy could spin off into silliness, but it actually works. I mean, they figured out a great way how to make the tone of that movie work. James Gunn's really figured out a way to do that, and it still feels like it belongs in the MCU. I felt that Thor Love and Thunder was too silly to be really part of the MCU. I wish it was brought down to earth a little bit more. John and I were talking about this before the show started today, that he was like, I wish it was like 65% silly instead of 85% silly. And I think he's right. I mean, I wish it was less silly too. I think it kind of undercut what was going on in the movie. I would like to have seen more Gore the God Butcher, more pathos, more of him, as John also said, killing more gods. He's got to kill more gods. And I think he wasn't built up enough as a threat. And I just would have liked to have seen the movie. I prefer my superhero movies a little bit more serious. And it sounds like you do too. So we certainly park our shuttlecraft in the same shuttle bay. Spidey Oscar goes on to say, in Thor 4, I feel like I'm watching a kid's movie. But I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but I found those jokes to be boring. I think this movie should be 2+ hours and not under 2 hours because it felt rushed and it doesn't feel earned, in my opinion. Spidey, I don't think you're wrong. Like we were just saying, I felt the times I'm watching a comedy or a parody of the Marvel, like a Saturday Night Live parody of a Marvel Cinematic Universe movie, which I thought was odd because, like you, it did feel kind of childish and silly. And that's not what I want out of my Marvel Cinematic Universe. I mean, I really love both Infinity War and Endgame together as a achievement. But there's a lot of, with all the stuff going on and half the universe being extinguished, there's a lot of humor in those movies, and they're presented in a way where the threat itself is never compromised. The movie still has Thanos as a threat is there, but when Tony Stark is cracking jokes about, well, there's a wizard, with looking for these rings. I mean, that humor works, but it doesn't undercut the tone. So I tend to agree with you. I mean, I would like to have seen the movie be a little less silly, and it did feel it's sort of that the tone undercut the story that was being told, because I thought the story that was being told was pretty legit. I mean, Gore the God Butcher's his whole experience and why he was doing what he was doing, and then of course the stage 4 cancer that Jane Foster is suffering from. There's all really great human pathos and great storytelling and character moments in there, but it was a bit silly. So I don't disagree with you. Brian O'Connor says, I miss the days when the MCU post-credit scenes were teasing upcoming projects. Now we have to wait 5+ years for the sequels. It's hard for me to get excited about Shang-Chi 2, Eternals 2, Doctor Strange 3, and now Thor 5 when they're so far out. Brian, I don't disagree with you. I do think the post-credit scenes have been kind of very hit and miss. For instance, like in Doctor Strange, when we see Charlize Theron, it's like, if you don't know who she is from the comics, she's like, well, we have to go. It's almost like, well, wait a minute, you don't know who this person is. I liked it when we'd had a post-credit scene where, like, oh, I guess I'll have to do this myself, and you see Thanos grab the Infinity Gauntlet. I'm like, ho, 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 here it comes. And I think that's what I want to see more of, when the post-credit scenes are leading us directly into things and we can anticipate them. I've been a little disappointed lately. Like at the very end of Multiverse of Madness, so we return back to Bruce Campbell, you know, he stops hitting himself, and I felt, well, that's fine if you're a Sam Raimi, Bruce Campbell fan, but what did that do for the MCU? I'm waiting. It's not just waiting for the post-credit scene, but I want to see post-credit scenes that are going to have ramifications and far-reaching consequences for the rest of the MCU, and I don't think that Bruce Campbell stopping hitting himself will fit that bill. So, again, you and I think we're coming at this from exactly the same way. So I'm right there with you. Chad Shreves says, I feel like part of Marvel's problem is that they have their pipeline so jammed tight, they cannot take their time to get pre-production right. I feel things like Hawkeye and Moon Knight would have been better with 2 or 3 extra months to work on the script. Well, Chad, I don't think you're wrong. I mean, there's a lot of work. I was hoping. Now, remember, I've heard, and they said on one of the Disney Plus shows, that they were planning Moon Knight for a long time. I looked at Hawkeye and Moon Knight, and I thought they both suffered from the same problem. I liked both of them, but neither of them really went anywhere, and they were kind of inconsequential. I feel like I don't know, where does Moon Knight fit in to the MCU after Moon Knight show? I don't know. Maybe we'll see him in Werewolf by Night, but I'm like, how are you going to integrate that character? Is that character even in the MCU? I felt that Moon Knight was more about Khonshu and Ahmet and Ethan Hawke than it was about Moon Knight. But that, you know, that's just me. But I think you're right. I think they should take more time. And but that's when we see things that are dissatisfying. It might have just been that it wasn't like the Matt Fraction story that Hawkeye was based on. That was a good story. I don't know if that was the best adaptation of that story, though. And so, I mean, I'm right there with you, buddy. Hoop Suni says, I just picked up an Alfred Hitchcock Blu-ray box set, and I just watched Vertigo and quite enjoyed it. That and Psycho are the only ones I've seen so far. What is your favorite Hitchcock film, and which ones should I watch next? Well, I was saying earlier, it's crazy. I was saying my favorite Hitchcock movie is Rear Window. I love Rear Window, but, you know, there's North by Northwest. I really like Saboteur. I don't know if they're all in this box set. To Catch a Thief, I like. Of course, Psycho and the Birds. You got to watch Psycho and the Birds. So those are just a few. But, yeah, Vertigo is such a good movie. But Rear Window, I think Rear Window is in that box set. So watch that next. Watch Escape from New York. Watch To Catch a Thief. Did I say Escape from New York? Escape from New York is not directed, but I don't even know why I said that. Wow, what a brain weirdness that was. I mean, maybe I'm a robot. Escape from New York is a John Carpenter movie made in 1981. It's not an Alfred Hitchcock movie. So there you go. Alfred Hitchcock never made a movie in the 80s. His last movie was Family Plot in the 70s, which is also a good movie, and Frenzy. So there you go. Nate Dogg says, I'm seeing a disturbing trend in Marvel. The last few films and TV shows just haven't been up to the quality of past films. I feel that Marvel may have peaked, or at least they have lost their way a bit. I love Feige, and I hope he can return to form. Well, Nate Dogg, you know, I don't disagree with you. But I think that, again, Thor Love and Thunder is the 29th movie into the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I mean, eventually, that kind of thing, you still have superheroes. There's only so many stories you can tell. And 30 movies in the MCU, I don't think any franchise ever has given us that many movies, and we've got them in 14 years, which means if you average it out, we're getting more than 2 Marvel movies a year, and that doesn't even include the TV shows. You know what? At the end of the day, people just get tired. You don't want to eat the same thing all the time, and the superhero formula is what it is. I don't know if the quality is slipping because, look, I love Shang-Chi. the thing about Black Widow was I liked it, but they told a story that was relatively ordinary in terms of spy thrillers. And I liked Eternals a lot, but I know it wasn't for everyone. But even I can recognize that Eternals just wasn't, aside from seeing them go through the world, going through the history of the world, it wasn't that interesting. I mean, the Deviants certainly aren't interesting, but it would have been more interesting to see that. I love the rift within the Eternals. I thought that worked much better. But again, it really comes down to characters and storytelling. And what we're also missing is we are missing people like Captain America, and we are missing Iron Man. We have these major heavy hitters completely absent from these movies, and I think we're feeling it. And then Thor's now a goofball. So, yeah. Koa 1708 says, just a thought. Eventually, the MCU will get too convoluted and they will have to reboot the entire thing, right? Is that even feasible? Well, Koa, I don't think they'll have to reboot the entire thing. They'll just bring new versions of the characters in, but I don't think it's ever going to get rebooted. I think one of the great things about the Marvel Universe, and they know that, is it's this ongoing, living, breathing continuum, and one thing builds on the next. I don't think they're ever going to go back and go, nah, we're going to retcon everything. None of this stuff happened. That's not how it works. I don't think they'll ever do that. And if they did, I'd get very angry. And you wouldn't like me when I'm angry. So, Matt Mobile says, sup, R&B. If someone were to ask if I'd rather see John Krasinski or Ian Gruffudd, is it Gruffudd? Ian Gruffudd as Reed Richards in Strange 2, I'd pick Krasinski. But after seeing what happens in the movie, I'd rather have seen Gruffudd become spaghetti. Is it? I know it's an Irish name, and Gruffudd is probably not how it's pronounced. I would have went with Stewart's cameo too. It would have went well with Stewart's cameo. I agree. I mean, I think you're right. I think that I don't know if they could have ever got him back, but yeah, I would love to have seen him turned into spaghetti. That's quite funny. Yeah, I like Krasinski. I don't know what they're going to do with him or what they're not going to do with him, but I thought he was good in the role. But yeah, it would have worked better to bring back those two Fox characters, Xavier and, of course, Reed Richards from their movies. You're kind of muddling the message. But that was okay. I mean, I thought John Krasinski looked great in that suit, and I'd love to see them come back. I can't wait for the modern Fantastic Four. I hope it's more cosmic than more Guardians of the Galaxy than what we got before, but who knows? Hard to say. Ray sent in a tip. Part 1. You said you just want. Is this you, Ray? Did you? Oh, I was gonna say, because I was like, wow, okay. Thanks for the money. Part 1. You said you just want good movies and don't care about the universe. But Marvel wouldn't be Marvel if it hadn't had an overall storyline for a Marvel-connected universe was what made it special. Otherwise, it's just a studio that puts out good movies. Studios attempt to copy Marvel, and they've made us annoyed by shared universes, but that's why they copy, because Marvel did a great job and was exciting. Now it seems like a show and movie, a sequel with no universal story, and 75% of the fun was theorizing, Marvel losing some of the magic. Ray, I have so many thoughts. So many thoughts. First of all, I'm going to bring up the Burnett axiom. And the Burnett axiom is never put a universe before your characters or your story. Iron Man 1, if you go back to Iron Man 1, Iron Man 1 is a fairly simple story about an egomaniacal, narcissistic, rich, enfant terrible, a child of a very wealthy man, wealthy parents, Tony Stark. Tony Stark ends up having, because he ends up captured by terrorists, he has a long, dark night of the soul, and he sees the repercussions of the very things that he's been using his intellect to create, which is weapons of war, weapons of destruction. And he comes to terms with himself, and he realizes, I can't allow this to continue. My company, my life is kind of a lie, or his life is not worth living because his entire life's work it's dedicated now to killing people. So he has an epiphany, and he decides, I'm not going to do that. It's the first time he comes up with an idea. I'm going to use my powers, my intellect for good, and he builds the Iron Man suits, because we later find out that he wants to build a suit of armor around the world. And he truly is trying to do something altruistic for all mankind, like making the Iron Man suits and then later the Iron Man drones to hopefully protect the world. Now, the thing is, while it was always considered by Marvel that was the first Marvel movie to make a shared universe, but a shared universe is only as good as the component parts that you're using to build that universe. If Iron Man 1 hadn't worked, there never would have been a Marvel Cinematic Universe. It would have ended right there. But when it did work and it made $500 million worldwide, then they could actually start planning. And of course, I know they have Nick Fury at the end of Iron Man come out and say, we're talking about the Avengers Initiative. They were always talking about that, but you have to make the characters and the stories work first before you can get around to planning your whole universe, because one weak link, the chain collapses. Remember, after that, they made The Incredible Hulk with Ed Norton, and it was a little sketchy. And I like the movie, but it's not great. It certainly doesn't work as well as Iron Man 1 does. And the thing is, if they hadn't built those characters, the core of the Marvel Cinematic Universe are Robert Downey Jr., not the character of Iron Man, but Robert Downey Jr. as Iron Man, Chris Hemsworth as Thor, and Chris Evans as Captain America. Those actors coupled with those characters were a slam dunk. It speaks to the genius of Marvel's casting over there and what they're trying to do. If any one of those actors didn't work, we wouldn't have Thor Love and Thunder now. And the reason we do is because Hemsworth inhabited that character. And what Marvel has done is they've slowly but surely built upon what came before to make sure that they could take it slow. And by the time you got to the Avengers, you loved all those characters. We met Natasha in Iron Man 2. We met Rhodey, of course, we met in the first Iron Man, but he comes back in Iron Man 2 is played by Don Cheadle. And you love the character of Rhodey. It's all really great stuff. And I think that the way that Marvel systematically built their universe is what made it work. Now we're 14 years into this big experiment. And of course we think, well, we love the universe. We love speculating. We love being a part of it all. Yes, but that's because they've built it brick by brick and they've made it for us. If they just came out and said, we're going to start a shared universe, there's a reason why no one has had the success of Marvel. I mean, even Zack Snyder's Justice League, which I love. Zack Snyder, when he took over the DC franchise after Nolan finished Dark Knight Rises, and he did Man of Steel, of course. And the problem is they didn't build up the characters over at DC enough to have their cinematic universe work nearly as well as Marvel did. And that's why Marvel is way ahead of the game in terms of cinematic universe. Now, that's not to say that, look, DC's been doing a fine job. The Shazam movie, the Aquaman movie, those are standalone films. Wonder Woman, of course, Wonder Woman 2 wasn't great. Hopefully Aquaman 2 will be better. But they're really putting all of their eggs. They wanted to go too fast. They made a Justice League movie over at DC without earning it. They didn't put those characters. You didn't get a Wonder Woman movie. You didn't get a Ben Affleck Batman movie. They threw these characters together and they were chasing the elusive cash, but they didn't have the foundation that Marvel did. Marvel took its time. They were hedging, or they were not hedging their bets. They took their time building all of these characters. Well, DC wanted to jump into the deep end and get that sweet, sweet nectar of the gods, meaning money, the way they saw over across the street. Look at how much money Avengers is making, $1.5 billion. But we've got Superman and Batman. We should be able to make that, right? No, because you have to make sure that your characters and your story are great. You can't put your universe first. But once you have great characters and great stories and great movies, then when remember, each character has to be beloved unto themselves. Captain America, Thor, and Iron Man all worked. All those movies are different, but they endeared those characters to us. And that meant that we would watch a movie where they came back together again, which was genius. If we thought that Chris Hemsworth was a douche and we never wanted to see another Thor movie, the Avengers landscape might look very different. But we did, and we have. And that's why 14 years later, in 2022, we've got this great MCU, and it's still sticking around. And even Doctor Strange made close to $1 billion. Thor opens at $300 million. So people love these movies. That means Marvel's doing something right because they've concentrated on their characters first and their universe second. But I love the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and I love what you're saying about how we get so invested in it. We like to spread our theories around and anticipate what we're going to get next. I don't want to take that away from anybody because it's awesome. So you're absolutely right, though, about Marvel. It's a lot of fun, but I would say that you need the building blocks first, then you can have your universe. Because if you don't have a foundation for the universe, it's going to collapse. So the Keto Latino says, hey guys, I just wanted to give John some thanks. I did what he said, and I had a first date last night to Love and Thunder and dinner afterwards, and it went great. In Campea, we trust. Hey man, to as many list of accomplishments, let's add Love Doctor to John Campea. John Campea's list. Congratulations. I hope you got some Love and Thunder after the movie. All right. Anonymous says, thanks for telling us about the Kenobi edit. You actually led me to another version by Pentex on YouTube. Have you seen this version? I have not. From the video, it looks even better than the other. I just love that fans have been cleaning up the mess of a show. Well, Anonymous, I think it's strange that we live in a time now where we have the technology where fans can take these movies and change them around and make them into what they think is a better version. And yet they are doing it, which, I mean, hell, people can put me out of a job. And I really liked, I didn't watch the Pentex version. I watched the other version. I thought it made the show a lot better. And I'm kind of thinking, well, there's something to be said for this. I mean, I wouldn't want to put myself out of a job, but having fans take the time to do something like that and see those great results, that's pretty cool. I love that. And I love that version of Kenobi. I think I'm going to have to burn myself a Blu-ray, make myself a cover, and slide that puppy right into my physical media collection, because why not? Dustin the Wind. All we are is Dustin the Wind. After season 5 of Stranger Things is finished, I hope the Duffer Brothers keep making original content, but Marvel, DC, or Star Wars is going to bring a dump truck of money to their doorstep. Who do you think is going to try first? Dustin the Wind, I have a different take on that. I think the Duffer Brothers are unto themselves. They're like their own Marvel. They're not going to go to work for anyone else. They're going to adapt the Stephen King novel, The Talisman. They're doing executive producing a Stranger Things spinoff. They have a property, a once in a lifetime opportunity to write their own ticket, and they're going to get involved in things. They're building their own empire. I'm not saying never, but the Duffer Brothers would much rather make their new season of Stranger Things than go work for Marvel, because Stranger Things is their pop culture phenomenon. Whereas, Marvel, the Marvel Cinematic Universe is Kevin Feige's and that, but the Duffer Brothers are giving him a run for his money. I mean, they're getting paid a lot of money. I think to have Netflix there and to go off and make The Talisman and whatever the hell else they're making, that's power. That's true power in Hollywood, and that's what everybody wants. So more power to the Duffer Brothers. I don't think you're going to see them scooped up by anybody anytime soon other than Netflix, but they've already been scooped up by Netflix, and they're producing programming for them. But yeah, I think it's great for them. So I'm really excited to see what they come up with next. And that, my friends, is the end of today's mailbag for Monday, July 11th, 2022. I want to thank you, obviously, for all sending in generous support to this channel. You've given us something to talk about, and you've supported this channel while you are doing it. How much fun is that? Remember, if you want me to read a question on the mailbag, you can follow that link right down below. I'm not guaranteeing it won't be me and John, or just John, or maybe Ray and I. Who knows? Ray and I party like the best of them, so we could probably do a great mailbag together. But anyway, there you go. My name is Robert Meyer Burnett. You can find me on Instagram at Robert Meyer Burnett, or you can find me, or RM Burnett, or find me on Twitter at Burnett RM. You can find me on my website, postgeeksingularity.com, or the YouTube page, Post Geek Singularity. But mostly, you can find me here on the John Campea channel on YouTube. And why not? Because this is the best place to be. We throw monster parties here. Wait till you see Ray Ora's DJ set. Man, can that guy spin. And on that note, I want to thank Jonathan Voico for producing this mailbag, and our sponsors, Athletic Greens and Harry's. And most of all, I want to thank you guys for making this show possible. Thanks very much, and we will see you on the next Mailbag.